Alright, so FreezeTag in vanilla Minecraft. Let's talk about that. So this was a project that I worked on. It would have been, so this server's running on 1.11.2 and it was created before that. It was just before the command blocks changed to have the all the new options, the different colored ones, just when it was one command block. So that's when this was created and functioning. It is a vanilla Minecraft server, and using redstone command blocks, it basically creates FreezeTag. Let me show you around and see how it all works. So this is what's called, I guess, the lobby. It's more like a dungeon. So this is where everyone gets thrown as soon as you connect to the game, or when a round, if you're playing a match and the game has ended, you get thrown in here, and you can either take a nice little walking tour of the actual redstone and command block machine, or you can jump up here and start the next game, and a little bit of memorial for people who helped out. Someone who helped with some of the commands for the announcer system I'll talk about in a sec. And again, yeah, 100% vanilla Minecraft command blocks and redstones, and some of the people who helped out with the different maps. All right, this is the machine. Yeah, this is for the tour. It goes above it and has a barrier block so they can see through. We do a flyover so you can see the whole thing. That's the announcer system. That's all the announcing. This section here is for resetting the game, getting it all started. This is checking to make sure the game is started, ready to go. This is the team balancing system. This is the actual round and the round mechanics. So once the game started, determining if a team has won, adding in a score, and then at the end of each round running this chain of commands to reset the level and send everyone back to the start of their side and let the next round begin. This whole cluster is in-game mechanics, so detecting when someone's to be frozen, freezing them, applying different effects, and for thawing them, also for when joining or disconnecting, setting up all the different variables that need to be in place for every player. What are these separated for? Oh, okay. And this is to basically stop people from throwing items on the ground to people who are frozen, because they're not allowed to have any weapons, so it prevents you from giving your frozen teammate a sword so they can swing at other players as they run by. Let's go over each of the systems in a little bit of depth, talk about them, what I want to change, what I'm looking to do for this project, and see where we're at and where we can go. So this is the announcer system, and it does things like this. Blue team wins. Red team wins, so on. Other a little bit more interesting things it can do. Game starts in 60. Runs this 10-second timer. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. And then it's supposed to do from 10, count down to 9, 8, 7, 6, down to 0. It's off by 1 second, you see there. But for some reason, the last 10 seconds don't work as initially laid out, so that'll need to be fixed. Yeah, and a couple other things. So that's that system. Would like to expand upon that, obviously. Okay, let's go over this section here. This whole section here is basically start and stopping the game, setting up all the initial variables, and resetting the game, yeah. So that's what all of this is about. So you can actually manually stop the game by setting FT game score for FT stop to 1, and we'll reset the announcer and then reset the game stop and start the game up. We'll make sure the game is already over or set it to being over, and then resetting the stop. And I think if I issued this command, it will bump me back there and then tell the announcer that it's resetting the game. Let's see what this does. Yep, there we go. And what do we got here? Test the game's over, and then tell that it's not set up. And then if it's not set up, run all of this stuff here, which is sets up the game, resets the red team, tells the announcer that's resetting, which you saw show up on the screen there. You know, the game is resetting. Does all that type of work. All right, this next section here, excluding this bit on the end, so basically from here up. This is the make sure that the initial conditions are met to actually begin starting a game. So checks to make sure there's people on the red team, people on the blue team. Currently there's not, there's just me on the no team, which is why my name at the top shows up in white. If I was on the red team, it would show up in red and blue for blue. Check to see if the game is set up. And according to this, it is set up. And the game has not started, so it has not started, so that is on. But these, oh yeah, and so since there's nobody on the teams, this does not complete. But if there were people on the teams and everything else was set up, it would announce the game begins in 60 seconds. Say that the game has started. Set the round to 0, so pre-round, and reset the waiting for players. So you can see waiting for player shows up as 1 right now on the screen. And once the game is started, it's not, so that's why. So if these conditions were met, it would flag this as being started, so then it would possibly these series should be the ones that get test for positive and then issue the commands at the end there. But of course it's not, because the game isn't started. And begin game counter for the announcer is not at 0, it's actually at -1. It gets reset over there to that. And it's not a pre-round, it's actually -1 for the round right now. But if those conditions were met, it would set the round to 1. begin round be turned on, and the announcer begin game in is now reset to -1. And set the blue team round wins to 0 and red team round wins to 0. And this whole chunk here is the actual game round mechanics, but we're going to skip past that for a sec to talk about this system here. This is the team joining system. It's not a simple put the next player on blue, put the next player on red, blue, red, back and forth. It does do some checking to make sure that whichever team, I think the way it works is whichever team has the highest amount of players in a comparison, then put the next available player on the other team. So if red team has 3 and blue team has less than 3, put the next person on blue, and continue to do that until both teams are even, and then it's weighted to default to red. So the first time you join, first player always goes to red, and on an evenly balanced team, the additional player that would unbalance it goes to the red team. And so that's what this whole system does. I honestly do not remember how the layout quite functions, but that's the logic behind it. I do remember the logic, but this circuitry works, and I don't really know it well enough today to be able to explain any better than that. All right, let's move on to the round mechanics. Excuse me. So these will check to make sure that the round has started. There's players on the teams, and check all the thawing, and if any team is completely frozen while the other team has one thawed, it will indicate that the round has ended, give that winning team a point, and then issue a command saying that everything needs to be reset. And I'll go through all of those condition check-ins until the very end. When someone has reached the 5th round, it will say the game has ended, allow the announcer system to display which team has won, and all the way back down there to the beginning to reset everything, and then players go back into that little lobby, jump up into the map, get team balanced, and when the round's ready, do this all over again. At the end of each round, it resets a whole bunch of different player scores and tracking data. Other option timers, so like if they have a speed boost, it will reset that, then make sure they reset their thaw and their frozen counters, and teleport everyone back to their spawn area for their team, the red team and blue team spawn points. The map rotation is a manual process right now, so you'd have to replace the coordinates in here for each of the different maps. So this is something that I do want to expand on, make it more automated, or maybe even like some sort of weighted vote system, or just on a rotation, so that the spawn coordinates rotate through. I feel there's lots of options here in this section to really improve and give some nice features. This whole section, this is a fun one. This is the everything to do with, well, this side here is to do with when a player connects or disconnects. It will set all the values for the different scoreboards, and basically set everything up for them so that they can actually play the game. And this section here is prevents you from throwing your sword or your bow to a frozen team member or just any other member. It doesn't allow for that in the game, which helps keep people that are frozen, and they can't do anything until they get thawed. This system here definitely needs to be less static. As you can see, it's only any item that gets marked for a kill deletion in this particular setup needs to be, one command block needs to be set for each one of them, while this command block actually does the killing. So that would be something that could be expanded upon and really help for map builders to give out more items or items at ease. This keeps the weather and the night clear and always at night. This side here detects when a player his health is low enough to freeze them, freezes them, and then issues all of these different effects onto them, as you can see. That gives them full health, makes them completely slow so they can't move, doesn't allow them to jump. It gives them weakness so they can't hurt other players, and it gives them full saturation so they can't get hurt anymore and actually die. So yeah, this system doesn't allow anyone to actually die. It keeps them at just basically, I think, like a half a heart or 1 heart. And once you get to that point, it freezes you. So I don't know if it's possible to kill someone. If that happens, I'm not sure what would happen to the system, but that hasn't happened. And but it is something that I feel could be done better than what it is. But this does work, or it has worked for what I have tested. I'll go back to these in a second. This is the section that will detect if a player on the same team that is not frozen is standing next to a frozen player, and then they will both receive an announcer countdown on their screens only saying that a player is being thawed, and do a countdown. And then once the player is thawed, it will let them know that the player is thawed, and then that formerly frozen player can now, all these effects over here get reset, and they're allowed to move and can pick up weapons as needed. And if the player does stand, if you're standing next to a frozen player and you're thawed, and if you do move out of range, it does reset this counter. So you do need to stay close, and it's kind of a neat feature. And then once they're thawed, it heals them back up and sets everything for them to be able to keep going. More stuff with first time joining and setting up variables and scoreboards for them. This section at the end here is all about different options and their timers. So currently the system, I think, allows for 3, maybe 4, I think only 3 by the looks of it, timers for different options. So you can have, like, say, a pressure plate you can run over, or something you can toggle to give a player a speed boost. Give them a speed boost, or say a health boost, or something like that, some sort of effect. And then this produces a timer that will count down, so that if they try to trigger it again, it will say that it's not available for them for another X amount of time. And so this system here has a lot of ways I can see it can be improved. So it's a great opportunity to allow for many more option timers, and with different functions and speeds of it's very static right now, like a couple other things like the map rotation. This is another one of those static systems, and the what weapons can be used. They're too static for what I like, and so those are opportunities that I'm hoping to expand upon once this is converted to whatever the current is, which is right now is 1.14.4. So yeah, so that's pretty much the whole machine, what it does in a brief overview. You can see it's got the old redstone timers. those need to be updated. My understanding is the new options, when you go in here and you set it to repeat, is much less resource intensive than these, so that'll also make the game function. As you can see, it's a bit intensive running the server and my client and the stream broadcasting software. But I didn't find the server had any real issues running on, I think I ran it on MC Pro host on whatever their cheapest one was at the time, and didn't have any issues with any sort of lag or anything like that. I think the most I ever had on was 3 versus 3, so 6 players. I think the system is set up for 5 versus 5, so a 10-player system, which I think is like the probably always the cheapest hosting options available. So this is kind of be a neat option for just to have a server that you can just play FreezeTag with your friends. Oh yeah, and one of the other systems I do want to add into this is the ability to track top players, stuff like that. I'm not sure maybe about clans, but at least for tracking which player has the most amount of kills or has won the most amount of times, been on the winning team the most amount of times. Also track which is the blue team or red team has won the most, which is the most kill. Just different counters and statistics like that, and that can be displayed in a much better and bigger lobby area than this little sad thing here. So let's go take a look at some of the maps that we have in place. Let's start the game. Alright, so this is the first map. As you can see, I'm above it. These maps there's a number of them. They're all above the command block machine that you saw. And you get placed in this pre-game lobby that's above all of them. So when it says the game starts in 60, everybody's up here. And this does when you're in this section here, it pulls you out of the no team like I talked about before, and it shoves you onto the team balancing the red or blue. As you see, it defaults to red, so I am on the red team, whereas previous I was on, as you can see here, I'm on the no team, which shows up as white. As soon as I go through, it detects and it puts me on the red team right away. In this little section here, it's a little parkour, just for fun. I'm not that good at parkour, so I don't think I can make it very far. No. So yeah, you make your way around, out, back in, and then over, up, onto that, and there, just for fun. Okay, and then once the game, the announcer has counted down to 0, everybody, where the map rotation teleports you to your spawn points, that's what happens, and this will be the red start. Oops, red start. Let's go back to creative. This will be the red start, and then it's a mirrored image, so that side straight across will be the blue. Let's talk about this map. What makes it interesting? So as you can see, there is lava out here, and so at the end of a round, someone could be on fire. And so not handling that in command blocks, the quickest solution was just spawn everybody in a water block. And so that automatically puts everybody out right away. You get your weapons, Bow of Infinity. And so yeah, this is what I was talking about, allowing for map builders to expand upon weapons and items that they can give out to players. That system definitely needs to be less static and more dynamic and expandable. As you can see too, the arrow, as soon as it hits the ground, it's gone right away, and you cannot throw. So that system as well needs to be matched up with the as I was saying, to be more expandable and more dynamic and less static. Teams come out here, you can grab yourself some armor. Again, same thing, you can't throw it away or give it to a thought player. Some fun little cross shooting. The bridge goes up across here. And you can go through here. I'm just gonna run through it so you can see what the map looks like. This is one of the option timers I was talking about. So this one here is a potion of speed. So you get a speed boost, and available again 595, 513. So it's not displaying in seconds, it displays it in ticks, I think. Or whatever the countdown timers for one cycle through a redstone fill timer. That's how this is being counted down, subtracting one each time until it's finished, and then you can get the speed boost again. So that would need to be a better display that would just show seconds as opposed to a number that is really not very meaningful to the average player. Bridge, probably get up in some creative locations to get some interesting vantage points and fights going on. And again, it's just mirrored on this side. And they get a speed boost as well. And now it's back and reset. So I did not make this map. This is one of the map builders that I showed on the credits wall there. But it's a wonderful map. This one has the most amount of plays. It's the one that I had running exclusively, and it seemed to play very well. Didn't have any issues. Everyone liked it. So there's this map here. Never was completed. Another builder was on the system, and they didn't get very far. So I'm not sure what that was going to turn into, but that will be deleted. This is a partial build and then a partial rebuild of that build, and this will be changed just to have the blue section and the red section and these endpoints will either be removed or make more streamlined. So this one's not quite done, but does have a different couple of neat features that are in the other map. The center location has a timer for the healing. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the way it's laid out, but that's the health timer, and I guess apparently it only works the once. Okay. And one of the other neat features is I do like for this map is that you completely see from both sides. So long range shooting will be very interesting. Make for some fun fights. You have access to getting on top of these. At least you can on that side, so that is part of one of the areas to breach. And there's teleports on each side that basically, if I go through here, it'll teleport me all the way to that red bar straight across from me. And that should make for some very interesting situations, I feel. So yeah, this map is not done, would need to be finished. And that map wasn't even close. This map was finished, but I'm not really going to go over it. I wasn't too big of a fan of it. That'll probably be deleted. And this map here, this map is almost finished. I am partial builder, so it was me and Kate Muffins did this one. And it's almost done. I'll give you a look of it from above. So that's this map. What's left to do is that mountain there needs to be duplicated here, so that needs to be sculpted. And and some more terrain so it's not so flat on the ground. You see there's a couple little places there, more of that, those types of features, and maybe change the elevation so it's not so flat, little hills and stuff. So both teams have their starting points, blue over there, red over there. Opposite sides will have the mountains. There's the two towers that they each have quick access to themselves. And then this fun center arena thing, which I'll show you in a sec. So let's see what it looks like from the start for them. Not sure why these chests are here, they don't need to be. So yeah, they'll start on each of the sides. And let's just run through so you can see what it would look like. I don't think there's any access to any higher than that section. You do get locked in there, and yeah, there's no way to get up there. There might be a way to get boosted. They're not really issues I'm thinking of right now. I just really want to get the game converted to 1.14 and then put those things later. Let's keep going. So yeah, that's FreezeTag. This is the project that I will be giving some updates as I progress. This is the current state of it. I will be looking to get this hosted in its current shape, at least functional for some gameplay on 1.11.2. And hopefully meet some people that are interested in helping out to get a conversion going to 1.14 and release it to the public for other people to download and play it with their friends on their server, or come on to the server that this will be running and try it out, see what they think, and suggestions are always welcome. Okay, show you more later when I have stuff.